This week on LTC News, an African dignitary in Lowell.
And he insists that certain things ought to be done in a proper way.
Women moving forward together.
All races, ethnicities, religions, socioeconomic statuses.
And lots of parking coming to downtown.
It really becomes one of the premier development sites in this entire region.
Stay with us. Welcome to LTC News. I'm your news anchor, Alanna Flood. Construction of the parking garage in the Hamilton Canal Innovation District downtown is moving forward. What is a huge muddy mess right now will be impressively transformed over the next 2 years with provision for a green roof, over 900 parking spaces, and a 2-lane bridge to Jackson Street.
We are in the middle of the Hamilton Canal Innovation District, and what you're seeing will be completely changed within the next year. Right now you see a lot of mud, but you will see roadways, sidewalks, a parking garage down at this end right across from Canal Place 3, parking garage for about 940 spaces. Development parcels up here by Dutton Street, and a signature bridge, which will be really beautiful, that will cross over in the opening of the wall here, where you see the remnant wall. That will be a signature bridge going over to the Jackson Street area.
Ultimately, what was decided was that the Canal District was going to serve as an extension of downtown and operate on a very similar scale, walkable, bikeable, slow-moving vehicle traffic, and so the design really reflects that.
The design should be done in March, then we'll put it out to bid. We should have a bid award in June. And then the notice to proceed to the contractor would go out in July. And then it would be an 18-month to 2-year project, approximately.
We've also got some really great, I think, architectural features on the thing. Something that's more reflective of an innovation district. I mean, we've really tried to keep that in mind.
The green roof will help some of the stormwater that comes from having such a large development. A lot of times there are some subsurface structures that get put into the ground in order to gather in water and clean it out. So the green roof will help do some of that in a less intensive way. There'll be an area that's a little bit stepped down away from Canal Place, which is behind us here, so in that way they're not going to be in shadow a whole lot of time during the day, and then there'll be a step up in order to add some more parking for the district.
Because of the great need for parking in this area, in order to maximize the parking, the retail was removed from the first floor. However, at the last City Council meeting, one of the councilors, it was Councilor Kennedy, requested that we look at retail once again.
And when we were having conversations about should we include the retail, is it more important to provide more parking, one of the things we came up with was that space in front of the garage having utilities there, water service, power, perhaps some storage, so that it could become a space for kiosks, food trucks, things like that.
So right now we're working with our consultants. We're asking them to come up with a cost to put some retail into the garage, and also to find out exactly how many spaces we would lose if we do put retail back into the garage.
We've done some additional design along the Canal Place side and then around behind on the canal side, looking at ways to activate that space, looking at ways to design the garage such that we can in the future activate that space. We've talked a lot about tables and chairs, the idea that potentially someone may want to get their coffee in the morning and then maybe go sit by the canal behind the garage and at least get that water view from there.
The vision is for this to be a mixed-use area, an area that's activated 24/7. There's constant activity going around.
It really becomes one of the premier development sites in this entire region. So it'll bring lots of jobs, and also, as you know, the development of the Justice Center will spur on more activity in this area. So there's a lot happening.
The 7-story Justice Center in the same district is set to open in September of 2019. And now Jason Marshall, LTC Director of Municipal Programming, brings us his City Council Synopsis.
Hello and welcome to the City Council Synopsis for the meeting of February 13th, 2018. My name is Jason Marshall, Director of Municipal Programming for LTC. Seeing that it is school vacation week, the council voted to cancel the meetings of February 20th as well as the upcoming meeting happening on April 17th. The meeting attendance was a little lighter than usual as Mayor Samaras had a bout of the flu and Councilor Conway was also absent due to knee surgery. We wish them both a speedy recovery and thankfully Councilor Noon was present to chair the meeting. A heated debate between neighbors that had been before the council twice was finally resolved. In the past meetings, there were talks of abandoning a portion of Newell Street. Manager Murphy informed the council that the parties did reach an agreement and will include a deed with certain restrictions that are acceptable to the parties involved. Under general public hearings came discussion to amend C.56 personal ordinance. The public hearing was quickly closed as no one spoke in either favor or opposition. However, Councilor Elliott did voice his concerns voting for the amendment, specifically the $1 million indemnification for employees, as he feels that state law already covers it. City Solicitor Christine O'Connor responded by saying that the law provides council with the option for indemnification and that some communities have indeed adopted the ordinance to cover individuals not already covered by collective bargaining agreements. Elliott felt that this could open up the floodgates to any lawsuits that come in against the city. Citing that it is broader than state law requires, Elliott also did not like the idea of having to pay for outside counsel. In the end, Elliott moved to refer back to the city manager to remove the provisions. City Councilor Milanazzo supported this, believing the full council should be available. City Councilor Kennedy was ready to support the motion at the time, but believed that it would be better for Mayor Samaras and Councilor Conway to return. Councilor Mercier made a report to the council from a previous Parks and Recreation subcommittee that happened prior to the regular meeting. After many years, Utopian Park, located in the Hamilton Canal Innovation District, will finally be installing a sculpture called Hydro. The project had been delayed due to budget issues. However, COOL, or the Cultural Organization of Lowell, has been able to sustain the original grants, and using private funds, the project was reactivated in May of 2017. The sculpture, created by artist Nancy Selvage, is hoped to be installed by June of this year. The total cost, with all donations and grants, is $200,000. Thank you for watching this episode of the City Council Synopsis. Remember, you can watch all the meetings in their entirety live on Channel 99 or on the LTC website beginning Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. Or if you can't watch it live, please visit the on-demand section of the LTC website and then choose Watch, then Channel 99, and then select City Council on Demand. Thanks again, and we will see you next time.
Lowell's African Cultural Association represents the area's large African community. On January 27th, they hosted a banquet to honor PLO Lumumba, a Kenyan lawyer who is a strong anti-corruption advocate. Mr. Lumumba also came to LTC for an interview with Ben Opara, Vice President of the African Cultural Association. According to Mr. Opara, there are about 5,000 African immigrants in the area, most of whom maintain a strong connection with family in Africa.
So I would say sometime 15, 18 years ago, we started seeing this influx of Africans, started with those West African countries because of the wars there, particularly Liberia, and that's why you see a lot of Liberians in town. And then there are Sierra Leoneans. Then there is this wave of East Africans led by Kenyans.
The diaspora has a voice.
Absolutely.
They can be listened to. Many ministries of foreign affairs are now creating desks for the diaspora because they know these are men and women with the power of the purse.
Absolutely.
And if they insist that certain things ought to be done in a proper way, then they will be heard. And that is why it gladdens my heart that you who are here in the United States of America, in the state of Massachusetts, are so much organized that you are beginning to participate and to inform the agenda in Mother Africa.
At a point, there was a commission in Kenya that was charged to, fish out corruption and they prosecute, corrupt people in government. He came in there and decided to prosecute anybody and everybody, including family of the president, whether it didn't matter to him. And he started stepping on toes, and they quickly got him out. And when they got him out, it was like a blessing to him. Now he had to, just take off, and he felt free now to start speaking about this and speaking about corruption and bad governance across the continent of Africa.
And the reason why personally I've considered this something in the nature of a crusade is because I see many young Africans running away to Europe, particularly, and to the United States of America when they have no qualifications. And they are doing so because successive generations of political leaders have failed to create opportunities for them. And once we've dealt with the issue of hygiene in our politics, where there is good politics, then you can inform the economy. Then you can inform the economy in a manner that is going to address other social problems.
Way back from growing up and being a student in my home country, Nigeria, I have believed in the very same things that he is speaking about now. Number one, Pan-Africanism. I have resisted. Nigeria is a big country, and people sometimes think it is too big. For me, I think it should be bigger. I think it should be way bigger because there are strength in numbers. As far as I'm concerned, the entire subcontinent of West Africa should be one strong buying group.
So going forward, it is we who have had the advantage of education who must in some way ensure that we inform the political class and by extension persuade our people that the tribe, as we call it, or ethnic extraction is innocent. We must celebrate our diversity. But let's use our strengths in a positive manner, in the manner that we have seen it being done in other countries. Switzerland is a good country, that is a good model that comes to mind. The Swiss, if you read her history, had these problems of ethnicity. Then a certain strong general came and said, we know there's German speaking, there is Italian speaking, there is Romanic speaking, and there is French speaking. We are going to create a country with our cantons. You are going to preserve your German culture, your Romance culture, your French culture, your Italian, but we are going to be one nation. Combined GDP would move into the neighborhood of the GDP of the United States of America in 20 years, so that we have a $10 trillion economy. Then we will be invited to Davos, not for photo opportunity, but as true participants.
You can watch the hour-long interview with Mr. Lumumba on demand on LTC or on YouTube. Search for Lumumba Lowell. The video has gotten over 21,000 views around the world. March is recognized as National Women's History Month. Each year at the Lowell Women's Week breakfast, Because of Her awards are given to local women for their exceptional service to the community. Lowell Women's Week started in 1996.
So from that first year, things have evolved and have always involved individuals who are volunteers.
The women who get the Because of Her award are women who are being recognized for the work that they're doing in the community that has nothing to do with the work that they get paid to do.
This year's theme for Lowell Women's Week is Nevertheless, We Persist, moving forward together.
Every year we have a little challenge figuring out what will our theme be. And we always choose one that's both broad so that it can include lots of different kinds of programming, but also current in some way.
And it's highlighting the solidarity of women from all different types of backgrounds, all races, ethnicities, religions, socioeconomic statuses.
And where, as a result, women and girls and men as well have banded together to persist, to work to maintain and expand the kinds of communities that we want.
And we're saying that we stand together and we are going to move forward no matter what and who's in charge.
Women's issues discussed on a national level are also relevant closer to home.
Here in Lowell, a really great organization that's doing extremely difficult work but necessary, the Center for Hope and Healing, and they are a rape crisis center, and they are aiming to end sexual violence in our community.
Violence against women, sexual assault, harassment, whether it's in the workplace or elsewhere, are pretty central actually, and have been to our culture.
Representation in all forms, and especially in government, and how do we really tackle that on a national level. But then when you bring it back to Lowell, we see in our local city election, we have now 2 women on our city council. You know, it's only in 2018 and there are 2 women on our city council. What does that say about Lowell?
For Lowell, and pretty much for most other places, the answer is yes, that we do need to change culture. I believe there will always be more we can do in Lowell.
And there are so many awesome women locally whose names you probably will never hear, but they're doing things like the Solidarity Movement in Lowell, which I think is amazing. And I think in Lowell, we have so many amazing women entrepreneurs as well who are running their businesses and in fields that are normally dominated by men. And I think that Lowell is really trying to be the change, and I think it's amazing.
Although it's known as Women's Week, many of the activities extend throughout the entire month, and most events are free. Check the Lowell Women's Week website for details. Jack Kerouac's book, On the Road, will be read aloud in its entirety on March 10th by an army of volunteer readers. Pollard Memorial Library expects to make this an annual event to commemorate Kerouac's birthday in March. The reading begins at noon at the library and moves on to Gallery Z around 4 and to the Uncharted Gallery at 7. The marathon is expected to take about 11 hours.
And so, in America, when the sun goes down,
And I sit on the old broken down river pier watching the long, long skies over New Jersey.
And sense all that raw land that rolls in one unbelievable huge bulge over to the west coast.
we're doing it to bring Lowell together, to celebrate Kerouac in a way that's very collaborative and community building.
And all that road going, and all the people dreaming in the immensity of it.
And in Iowa, I know by now the children must be crying.
And in the land where they let the children cry.
And tonight the stars will be out. And don't you know that God is Pooh Bear?
If you sign up to read, we're going to assign you a time slot to read, which doesn't guarantee a particular passage to read.
The evening star must be drooping and shedding her sparkler dims on the prairie.
It was just become before the coming of night, which
Which is just before the coming of complete night that blesses the earth.
Darkens the rivers, cups the peaks, and folds the final shore in.
you are warned and absolved about any kind of particular language that you might have to read.
And nobody knows what's going to happen to anybody.
Beside the forlorn rags of growing old.
I think of Dean Moriarty.
I even think of old Dean Moriarty.
We're hoping to do this every year to celebrate his birthday and to let the momentum grow. And hopefully this will become a really big program for Lowell.
The father we never found.
I think of Dean Moriarty.
I think of Dean Moriarty. I think of Dean Moriarty.
If you want to be a reader, visit the library's website to sign up. In this week's Sunspot, Lowell Sun Enterprise editor Chris Scott sits down with city manager Kevin Murphy to discuss achievements and disappointments.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of Sunspot. I am Chris Scott, employed by the Lowell Sun at 491 Dutton Street as the Enterprise Editor. With me today is Kevin Murphy, the City Manager. This is his second appearance on Sunspot, but it's with bittersweet emotion that you're here today because you're announcing that you're leaving on April 1st. Oh, no, you've already done that.
Yeah.
But thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
Well, you and I have been around together for a long time.
We have been around. Remember that first campaign for state rep?
Yeah, you were a Cub reporter,
reporter.
when I first ran for state rep.
I'm still Cub reporter, which is gray hair now.
Yeah, that's very good. No, that's like over 20 years
that
ago.
That was 1991, right?
No, 96, I think.
96, okay.
Yeah. So it's been a long time.
And who did you defeat then?
I defeated Joe McNamee and Gordon. In the primary.
In the primary, okay.
And then Timmy Golden.
And then Timmy Golden.
Yeah. And interesting, we're all good friends today.
Yep.
It's politics is interesting.
Make strange bedfellows.
Oh yeah, and we're really good friends today, so that's good.
Well, I appreciate you coming in,
Yep.
and we were just hoping, we only have about 13, 14 minutes,
Yep.
so we were hoping that you could touch on some of your achievements, maybe some of the issues that you wish you could have gotten to but didn't, and then if there are any disappointments, although I'm sure you don't see, politicians never see disappointments, they only see the glass full as opposed
What's
to
the old saying, successes have many fathers, failure is an orphan?
What, is that one of those ancient Irish proverbs?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
All right. So,
well, I think well, first and foremost, none of the successes could have happened without the support of the City Council. Oh, really? It is. I mean, the three pillars of my administration, public safety, education, and economic development, all center around proper funding in the city budgets. And it's the City Council that votes on the city budget. And without their support, we never would have had the financial wherewithal to increase aid to the Lowell school system to record highs, to bring the police and fire departments up to staffing levels that we haven't seen in decades. That all comes with the budgets that the city councils have approved.
let me just ask you a question about the City Council. Some of your predecessors in the city manager's office started out with great expectations of their relationship with the City Council. But some of them have became, over time, almost like a strong mayor. And then that's when the City Council gets upset. The City Council always views itself as, they run the city, big picture, and they hire the city manager to carry out the day-to-day. It seems to me that you've always been very cognizant of that and not falling into that trap that several of your predecessors did.
Right.
Can you just talk about that for a minute?
Well, I always said, I'm not on the ballot anymore. The city councils are on the ballot, and they deserve the credit that comes with getting successes. So I've always made it my policy to credit the city council because they deserve it, and I think that's helped us out with a good relationship because. I don't have to cut ribbons. I don't have to, shovel at a groundbreaking. That's for the mayor and the city councilors to do. And I've always taken that position, and I think it's worked well. I've had
I think it's worked well too.
I've had a great relationship with all the city councils, and I continue to have a great relationship with them.
If you had to look at education, public safety, and economic development, what do you think? What area do you think you had the most impact in?
Economic development.
All right, let's talk about that for a little bit. Obviously, we can talk about the Hamilton Canal, but it's not. There are some other big gets that came to the city.
Oh yeah, I mean bringing Kronos to Lowell. I did that. I went one-on-one with Aaron Ain and Vince Devlin and everybody. I had lunch with Aaron Ain in his office out in Chelmsford to ask him to come to Lowell. It was very difficult because he's a big Yankees fan, His office is adorned with Yankees paraphernalia, but I ignored that.
I never knew you were a Red Sox fan. I knew you were a Celtics fan.
Yeah. But I think Kronos, with the amount of jobs that they're going to be bringing to Lowell, and also not only the jobs, but we're not the mill city anymore. We're really a city on the move, a progressive city. And that a great company like Kronos would come to Lowell changes that image of us as a mill city.
You talk about Kronos a lot, and some councilors talk about Kronos a lot, but I view the acquisition of Markley on the same level because you had that gigantic building out there off of Gorham Street, the old Prince Spaghetti plant that was like a fortress.
Right.
And now that's occupied with a high-tech firm. That one kind of flies under the radar, and I'm not quite sure I know why.
Because it didn't create as many jobs as Kronos does.
Okay.
I think that's the issue, is that Kronos is a big job producer, but Markley is very small, and it's self-contained. So,
but you filled that building, though.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. And let me tell you, Jeff Markley, the owner, was a tough negotiator, I'll tell you. He's as tough as they come, so it wasn't easy.
But besides Kronos and besides Markley, there's also the expansion of the Macon plant on Chelmsford Street, right?
They were going to move to southern New Hampshire, but I sat down with them, and the city council, again, gave a nice TIF, a tax incentive financing agreement, to keep Macon here.
All right, I'm glad you brought that up.
It's not only the budgetary advances that the council made, but they supported me with giving Markley, Kronos, and Macon tax incentive finance agreements, which really is what brought them to the city of Lowell.
Sometimes those types of agreements cause a lot of scrutiny, particularly when the state has given some big tax breaks. If you remember, they attracted the solar manufacturer Devon's a number of years ago under Deval Patrick, and then it closed up a year later, and they were never to be seen again. But it seems here that the issuance of these TIFs have really helped.
Oh, yeah.
So you like those types of deals as a manager?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, the city of Lowell doesn't have a lot of natural resources to attract a company to the city, so we have to come up with other ways to attract them. And tax incentive finance agreements are a great way to do it. And we're giving a tax increment financing on the improvements that they make to the building. They still have to pay the base taxes, so it's not like we're not making them pay taxes. They're paying taxes.
I think sometimes
that's misunderstood. I think we're not waiving taxes at all. And the good thing about Kronos is we gave them the tax increment financing agreement on the tower that they were occupying. But once they occupied that tower, the rest of the building went up in value. So the taxes increased even more. So
just
Kronos
a quick question.
was a real win.
On the towers, the Cross Point towers, they recently changed ownership, correct?
Right. Yeah, it was just a really.
Could you just explain that just a tiny little bit?
Yeah, you had one LLC that owned it with partners. And then what they did is they sold it to another LLC with different partners. But Andrew Marr, who was the big guy in it, he's still
there.
Yeah, he's still there.
Okay.
So that's good.
Let's talk about public safety for a few minutes because we were talking off camera about the 2 murders in Lowell last Thursday at the Gallagher Terminal, the one on Saturday morning out off of Gorham Street. It's been very quiet on the public safety front if you eliminate the fentanyl and opioid crisis. But just talk about that a little bit. You must have just sighed because the city had been undergoing a long period there with no murders.
Yeah, and the first one was a road rage. I mean, it was just terrible. And that woman shot that man out the passenger window. I'm told that she could stay there the rest of her life and not duplicate that shot. If it went 1 inch either way, that man would still be alive today. So it was very, very disconcerting. But that was a random act of violence. It's a road rage. Yep. The other one was just terrible. Is that here you have a man gets shot in the arm and his cousin gets killed, and they know who's the perpetrator, and they will not turn that person in. That happens so often in these tragic events, and that's the thing that's most frustrating to me, is that they know who killed that guy and they won't tell who it is.
Hopefully the PD will be able to get on that.
Oh, they will. The PD will track him down.
Unfortunately, we only have 2 minutes left.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. I could talk to you for 40 minutes, but just talk about the high school for a minute. And just talking to people throughout the city, they list education, they list public safety, they list economic developments as things that have gone really well for you. The high school, not so much.
Right.
I remember prior to the school building committee vote, you said to me that you'd like to support option 2, but you couldn't because there were 5 votes on the city council for Cawley. Do you wish you could take a mulligan on that?
Yeah, I do. Because what I was trying to do is I was trying to bring the community together. I thought if I backed the majority of the city council would bring the community together and advance that site, even though I wasn't in favor of it. And it did the exact opposite. And then
there are a lot of factors, but
I mean, I'm just saying the exact opposite. So I think I wish I had a mulligan on that one.
What do you see? We have about a minute left, unfortunately.
We just got good news yesterday, though, is that the MSBA told us that we don't have to look into the new high school facility at the downtown site as deeply as we once thought we were going to. So that's going to accelerate the process. So it's by several months. So instead of having to wait for the August board meeting at MSBA, we're going to be able to go in June.
Okay.
So it's accelerated.
Now the MSBA is looking at option 2, right? Or option 3.
Right.
Option 3 is the controversial one with the eminent domain.
Right.
We don't have time to get into that now. If you had to look into your crystal ball, after April 1st, you're gone, you're playing golf, you're in Florida, you're watching the Celtics. Which option do you think prevail?
I think option 3.
Option 3.
I think it's the best option. It's the one that will make the best high school at the downtown site, and I think that's the one that not only should be but will be advanced.
Kevin Murphy, I appreciate you coming in. It's been fun dealing with you.
I'm still going to be a citizen of Lowell, so I look forward to talking to you.
Thank you and good luck.
That's it for this edition of LTC News. You can find us on LTC channels 899, online at ltc.org, on Roku at LTC Lowell, or get the link on Facebook. I'm Alanna Flood. Thanks for joining us.